Hello. So, I figured I'd spend today talking about one of my favorite games. Um, Man, what do I say? Um, I guess I'll start from the beginning. Yeah. Also, hi, hello, homies. If you don't know what this game is, this is VRChat. It's part of the metaverse, but it's really its own thing. I guess I'll start where I wanted to start. One day, I was 18. This is about 2.5 years ago. I came home from work. This is a month after I turned 18. And I came home from work, went up my driveway, and my dad was sitting on the porch. And on the porch, he told me, Jake, pack your shit, get out of my house right now. And I was like, okay. I obliged. I followed his rules, packed my stuff. I called my friend Connor because at the time I didn't know if this was a joke or not, you know what I'm saying? So I packed my stuff and I put it in the back of his car. We talked shit about my dad the entire time we were driving to my friend Connor's place. I already talked to my friend Connor's dad about paying rent there and living with him since my dad was kind of abusive. But we talked shit about it, and then we pulled up to Connor's driveway. And when we pulled up to his driveway, it sunk in. Reality had sunk in. And I realized I don't have a home. The one person in my life that was still there for me, and was providing for me, just kicked me out. And so I cried, like a baby, obviously, as anyone would. And I talked it out with Connor. Him and I really gained a friendship after that. And the next day I talked to his dad about staying there, and he said, no, I can't. People below would get really angry. I was like, okay, I understand. So I called Seth, my brother, and I was like, Seth, I have nowhere to go. Dad kicked me out. And he's like, fuck, really? I'm like, yeah, dude, I have nowhere to go, Dad kicked me out. And he was like, okay, sure, Jake, I got you. You could stay on my couch for 1 week, and you need to save up money and figure something out. And I was like, okay. So I continued working at my job. I moved my stuff and assessed what I could take, obviously. Brought my computer, all sorts of stuff. He set up a desk for me, and I slept on his couch. All the while just saving up money. And while I was there, I eventually ran out of time, and he said, all right, Jake, you need to find a way to get out of here. And I was like, okay, whatever. My other friend had a bunch of other friends who had an apartment, and he had been talking with them since he knew this is my best friend from high school, not Connor, not Seth. This is my best friend from freshman year and onward. He was like, okay, my friend group is gonna let you stay with them in their apartment as long as you pay rent, but you'll have no room. I was like, okay, sure, that works for me. I went and moved in with them. This was really difficult for me because I didn't know all these people too well. I met them. Hold on, I gotta rearrange here. There we go. I met these people like once or twice in high school. I wasn't really close with them. And now I'm living on their couch, They let me stay on their couch. I was very thankful. I tried to respect their property, their business. I did dishes, I cleaned, all sorts of stuff. And time went on. I still worked my job. I was in and out of jobs, really. Eventually, I gave up. I found music, and that was what I was really passionate about. And I continued making my music and gave up on jobs and trying to pay my rent. And they saw that, and they immediately took notice of it, obviously, as any smart person would. And after doing that, they had a talk with me, and they're like, Jake, you gotta pay your rent. Cam was there as well, my friend, and they were like, yo, you gotta pay rent. I'm like, I don't have a job. And they're like, well, you gotta go get one. I'm like, but this music, and they kept I kept pushing it off, really. And I found myself dealing with my dad kicking me out and what had been going on with my family and the abuse I had dealt with for 20 years. Or not 20 years, for 15 years. I took that out in drugs. I started doing heroin. I started doing mushrooms religiously, like ridiculously. Smoked weed like every 45 minutes, not even, probably every 30. I did lean, pills, all sorts of stuff. And all the while I was making music as well. And The thing is that was beautiful about that is those people understood I wasn't paying rent, and I didn't know them too well, but they still let me stay there because they saw I was passionate about music, or they were just, empathizing with my friend. Whatever way it was genuine, and I'm very thankful for it. Um, upon reflecting, one day, I'm not going to talk about the stuff that happened in that apartment. That's for another video, obviously. Um, One day, I called my mom and I said, "Mom, I can't do this anymore. I had an overdose on heroin that nobody knew about. I had to pick myself back up and go through a bunch of techniques to survive that." Um, and so I called her and was like, "I can't do this, Mom. I need to get away." And she said, "Okay, Jake, I'll fly you out. You can bring your friend with you as well, your best friend." I was like, "Okay, perfect, sweet." And then she's like, "Y'all can get an apartment together." We talked it out with my mom, and eventually I moved out there with my friend. All was good. We were living under my stepdad's roof now, and we were chilling. Um, we both got jobs. We applied for an apartment and got accepted. And once we got accepted to the apartment, we drove home, and in the driveway, Cam looks over to me and he's like, "I got something serious to talk to you about." I'm like, "Okay, what is it you want to talk about?" And he told me directly. He was like, "I can't be here anymore." And I was like, "Okay, what does that mean?" He's like, "I can't stay here. I got too many people I know in Oregon, and I feel alone." And I was like, "Okay." I kind of saw it coming, but I didn't want to. I blew it off. I shrugged it off. And he had like 3 or 4 days before he could catch another flight. And I really was angry and really upset with him. I've since apologized for it, but he moved out, and I was alone. I had my mom. Seth didn't bother talking to anybody. He still doesn't really. My distant family from Missouri, they didn't really talk to me. My grandparents. My dad, fuck knows what happened to my dad. Well, I know what happened to him now, but I felt alone. And this is in a mind state where I had no way to mentally escape with drugs or alcohol or anything like that. All I had was nicotine, which I'm still addicted to, but um, I had no friends. I had my family I knew didn't really want me there. It got to the point to where when I got my apartment, my mom was so in love with my stepdad. I call him my stepdad. They're not really married. Um, that they kind of just fucked off after I moved out. And when I got my apartment, I started paying my rent and everything. All was good, and I quit my job again, like a dumbass. When I quit my job, my mom paid all my rent up front and was like, "Okay, Jake, get another job, save up. You're done. I'm done doing this with you. Get another job, save up, and then we'll get you another apartment later on." And I had like 4 months to do that. I still didn't get a job. Well, I did like in the last 2 months, but the first 2 months, that first month, I drank every day, constantly. I would lick Four Locos from my local gas station and completely chug them down. And upon doing that, I came to a day where I just felt so alone, tired, sick, helpless. I had a knife. I was a knife collector. It was actually the knife my friend gave to me, and I unflipped it. I unflipped it, and I held it to my neck, and I started doing like this motion, not not holding it against my skin, but just past it, trying to normalize that thought. And I really struggled for about 30 minutes doing that, and eventually found myself putting down the knife, and I cried a lot. After my gay sobbing session, because fuck me, woe is me, I got up off my ass and I hopped on my computer. I'm sorry my eyes are closed most of this video. I don't know gestures too well yet. When I hopped on my computer, basically, stupid gestures. I hopped on my computer and I loaded up Steam. I'm a gamer, I love video games, I love technology, all sorts of stuff. And so I hopped on Steam. And when I hopped on Steam, I went to, there was nothing in my library I really wanted to play. Siege was the one game that came to mind, but I was bored of it. So I went to the Steam front page, and VRChat was there. Now here's the thing, is I had heard about VRChat before. I think I was 16, 17 when the Ugandan Knuckles meme was a thing, and that made me laugh my ass off, but I always wrote it off as, oh, okay, you need VR for that. But something was telling me in my brain to just check it out and download it and see, just for shits and giggles, just to see what would happen. And so I was like, okay, I'll buy it. I downloaded it and I launched it, and it saw there was play in desktop mode or VR mode. And I was like, oh, bet, okay. And so I hopped on. You know how it is when you load into VRChat your first time, and you go through the tutorial, you jump over the obstacle or whatever, and then you go to the VRChat home world, and it lets you pick an avatar, and there's a mirror. I remember picking the avatar that had the hat. I forget what the Imerchu, something like, I don't remember. The one with the hat, the straw hat, and it's like this little. It looks like they're from Legend of Zelda, And I looked at that in the mirror and was just observing my eyes when I look around. I was like, whoa, this is super cool. I was like, I knew, like, in my heart, this was something special. And I was like, okay, that's cool, but what do I do? Like, what am I supposed to do in this game? And I eventually found myself in the menu. I pressed escape, and I went to the world browser, and I chose a world called Midnight Rooftop. If you've been to Midnight Rooftop, I mean, everybody's been there, but when I loaded into Midnight Rooftop, upon getting there, I was like, hey, good morning, because it was like 3 in the morning, obviously. I was like, hey, good morning, just cracking a shit joke. And I said, I'm new here. And they were like, what do you mean you're new here? Like, you haven't been to this world? And I was like, no, I'm new to VRChat. This is my first day. And everybody, like almost everybody in the lobby had swarmed around me, and they're like, oh my God. This was at a time where VRChat was dead. Like, I'm saying dead relatively. It had like 3,000 Steam active users. Right now it has like 32K, which is ridiculous. This is before everybody got Quest 2s. They were like, oh my God. And I was like, what do you mean? What are you doing? They're like, you're new. I've never seen a new person. And it just was so, everybody was asking me questions. Everybody was like, welcome, and greeted me with love, support. Like, they don't even know who I am. And they were coming up to me and just had undividing attention and support. And like, there's something special about that. In a world that we live in where everybody's so focused on themselves and what they're doing, faceted in their own lives, have a place where even strangers, they'll come up to you and just talk to you and ask you questions and just be humble, is extremely rare. And I didn't cry, but I really felt like it. There was this guy that was in an engineer, TF2 engineer avatar, and he was like, hey, let me show you around. He showed me around the world. He showed me the secret, this only certain people know this, but underneath the first floor of Midnight Rooftop, there's a secret level, and he showed me how to get there, and he was like, yeah, nobody knows about this, it's fire. I was like, yeah, you're right, we could just spy on people on some creepy shit. And we kicked it off, and he was a great guy. Eventually he told me to make a VRChat account, and I never saw him again because I couldn't add him on Steam. So it was whatever. I created my VRChat account, and I loaded into another world. I decided, all right, what's this Room of the Rain about? And I loaded into Room of the Rain, and when I got there, everybody was around. You know how it be at Room of the Rain. Everybody was around the fucking mirror, and I was kind of pissed by that. I was like, I'm socially anxious. I'm not a social person. I haven't had a real friend in like a year. This is like after a year has passed since my friend left Arizona. And so there was this one girl that was on the bed in Room of the Rain, just chilling by herself, and I was like, hey, how are you? What are you doing over here? And she's like, oh, I'm just waiting for an invite from my friend. I was like, oh, okay, fair enough. And I was like, so what's your name? And she's like, well, it's right there, dumbass. And I was like, oh, okay. I was like, my name's Lux. It's Jake, but Lux is my VRC name. And she was like, oh, okay. And then she viewed my status and saw I was a visitor, and she's like, oh my God, you're new to the game? What? I haven't seen that before. I was like, what do you mean you haven't seen that before? Same shit that the other guy said. She's like, let me show you around. She was so insistent. She was like, let me show you around. We need to get you an avatar. Oh my God. I was like, okay, whatever. And she took me to like, she must have taken me to like 80 different avatar worlds. It's ridiculous. And all the while, I'd pick out an avatar and I'd just like walk around a bit, and she'd be like, nah, that doesn't fit you, that doesn't fit your voice, none of that. She was like really thinking about my voice and like what she could obtain from my personality just hearing me, and the very little that we had talked throughout going through these worlds. We talked about life. We had very similar backstories and stuff, and eventually she was like, okay, let me introduce you to my friends. And I kicked it off with her friends. We started this little like VRChat family, all in one night, might I add, one night. And we drunk together. It was great. It was great. I had a fun time. And eventually I had to go to bed. I think it was like 7 in the morning, 8 in the morning. And everybody around was like, oh, it was great meeting you. Have a great night. We love you. And you know how you hear that from your mom or from your dad? You hear, I love you, but you're normalized to it because you've heard it all your life, or maybe not. Maybe I'm lucky in that sense. This was different. It's like having strangers that you just met on the internet tell you, I love you, unapologetically. It's just, it's beautiful. And I turned off my computer, and the black screen in my monitor, I remember I was looking at my monitor and I could see the reflection of myself, and I was smiling. I had been so deaf of emotions because of what happened in the last 3 years that I was smiling for the first time in a long time, like actually. And I remember going and sitting down. I didn't even have a bed. I was that broke. I sat at my couch with my, bed sheet hanging over me. I didn't even have a blanket, and I smiled, and I went to bed, and I just, man, this game, if you have any sort of social anxiety, if you have any sort of social feeling that you need to have in your life, like some sort of fulfillment that you're missing, where you feel a certain way, depression, anxiety, regardless of if you have VR or not. I was on desktop for 8 months that I played this game, right? Because I didn't buy into the whole VR thing. And it helped me. It helped me build my personality, who I was as a person. I was very shut off before. If I wasn't talking to my friend group, I was very shut off. And this game allowed me to extrapolate who I really am as a person, because my dad always had told me who I should be, who I shouldn't be, and that I was a goddamn terrible person. And this game made me realize I'm not that person. I'm me. And allowed me to build upon that, whereas I had to stay in a cage locked behind and not be myself for so long. And I guess that's it. If I had to pick a game of the last 20 years to ever be released, it's VRChat. There's nothing like it. It's like a positive social media, in a way, if that makes sense. There ain't nothing like it, and that's facts. There ain't nothing like it. I don't know who needs to hear this or who needs to watch this video or hear from my experiences, but if you are feeling depressed, oh my god, my expressions, if you are feeling depressed, suicidal, anything like that, this game's there for you, and I promise you that. Anyway, this has been Lux. I love y'all. Yeah, or I mean, not even Lux. I'm so used to saying Lux now because I play this game so often. This is Jake, signing off. Thank you, homies. Have a great evening, night, or morning, whenever you watch this. I care for y'all.